November 17, 1906. The Daily Mail prints a challenge that makes the world laugh. £10,000, over £1.3 million in today's money, to the first aviator who can fly from London to Manchester 185 statute miles in under 24 hours with no more than 2 stops. Takeoff and landing must be within 5 miles of the newspaper's offices in each city. In 1906, the longest flight on record was still measured in minutes. The Wright brothers have flown 24 miles. Louis Blériot has not yet crossed the channel. Most people believe heavier-than-air machines will never be more than dangerous toys. Yet 4 years later, in the freezing spring of 1910, 2 men will risk their lives to prove them wrong. This is the complete, untold story of the 1910 London to Manchester air race, the moment aviation stopped being a curiosity and became a revolution. Claude Graham White, born 1879, Hampshire gentleman, racing driver, big game hunter in Africa, motorcar dealer, and one of the first 6 Englishmen to earn a pilot's license. He is tall, immaculately dressed even in flying kit, and carries the quiet confidence of a man who has already stared down lions. His machine, a standard Henri Farman biplane built under license at Issy-les-Moulineaux. Wingspan 38 feet, equal chord wings with 2 degrees dihedral, forward elevator 10 feet wide, twin bamboo tail booms, single pusher propeller driven by a 50 horsepower Gnome Omega 7-cylinder rotary. The entire engine spins at 1,100 revolutions per minute, flinging hot castor oil in a continuous mist across the pilot's face. Fuel capacity, 18 imperial gallons. Endurance at full throttle, 2 hours 15 minutes. Cruising speed, 39 to 42 miles per hour. Stall speed, 28 miles per hour. Instruments, 1 pocket watch strapped to a strut, 1 oil pulse sight glass, and the pilot's own eyes. Across the channel waits Louis Paulhan, 27 years old, born in Pézenas, former French Army balloonist, winner of the very first pilot license ever issued by the Aero Club de France, license number 10, dated July 17, 1909. Paulhan is calm, methodical, almost shy. He flies an almost identical Henri Farman, but with one decisive modification: a factory-fitted auxiliary tank raising capacity to 22 gallons plus a 3-gallon emergency can strapped beneath the nacelle. That extra 7 gallons, 210 minutes of flight instead of 135, will decide history. Both men know the stakes are bigger than money. If a Frenchman wins on British soil, it will be a national humiliation. If an Englishman loses, the future of British aviation may be mortgaged to France. On the morning of Saturday, April 23, 1910, Claude Graham White decides to strike first. The first attempt. 4 a.m., Saturday, April 23. The field beside the Plumes Hotel, Park Royal, London. Temperature, 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Hard frost. 200 spectators in overcoats and mufflers stamp their feet under hissing gas lamps. Mechanics swing the propeller for 20 minutes to warm the Gnome to 60 degrees Celsius. At 5:12 a.m., Graham White takes off into a 4-knot breeze. Takeoff run, 62 yards. Rate of climb, 120 feet per minute. He sets course northwest along the London and Northwestern Railway main line, the only reliable navigation aid in 1910. Altitude, 800 feet. Throttle, 1,050 revolutions per minute. Fuel burn, 8.9 gallons per hour. 5:35, over Wembley. 6:15 passes Leighton Buzzard at 400 feet. Crowds line the tracks waving handkerchiefs. 7:15 perfect 3-point landing on Rugby football ground after 117 statute miles. 2 hours 3 minutes airborne. Remaining fuel, 3.8 gallons, 26 minutes left. New British distance record. He drinks coffee, eats biscuits, tells reporters, "My fingers are so cold I can barely feel the control column." Mechanics top up to 18 gallons. 8:25 second takeoff. 33 minutes later, 33 miles north of Rugby. Number 4 inlet valve begins sticking. Oil pressure drops from 18 psi to 9 psi. He reduces RPM to 900. Airspeed falls to 34 miles per hour. 9:50 forced landing in a plowed field at Haidmore Crossing near Lichfield. Propeller stops. Vertically at 9:52. Remaining fuel, 0.9 gallons. A skid is cracked. Telegraph sent to London for mechanics. By evening wind rises to 30 miles per hour, gusting 42. Graham White orders soldiers from Whittington Barracks to stake the aircraft down. They forget. That night the gale flips the Farman onto its back. Starboard lower wing splinters, elevator crushed. The attempt is dead. Meanwhile in France, Louis Paulhan reads the morning papers, smiles quietly, and orders his own Farman crated for shipment to England. Wednesday, April 27th. Paulhan's biplane is reassembled at Hendon. 1721 Wormwood Scrubs. Wind 12 miles per hour across the strip. Takeoff run 84 yards. Paulhan climbs to 900 feet, trims for 1,080 revolutions per minute, 41.5 miles per hour indicated, 7.8 gallons per hour. He follows the same railway line northwest into the setting sun. By midnight he is still flying, the first heavier-than-air night flight in history. Fuel state at midnight, 9.2 gallons remaining. He navigates by moonlight on the rails and occasional station lights. For 32 April 28th, lands Trent Valley near Lichfield for his single allowed stop. Refuels to full 22 gallons plus 3-gallon reserve. 5:25. Takes off into a 28 miles per hour headwind component. Ground speed, only 16 miles per hour. Rate of climb, 40 feet per minute fully loaded. Back in London, news arrives that Paulhan is airborne. Graham White, after emergency repairs, new wing panels spliced overnight, refuses defeat. 4 a.m., he orders every automobile headlamp and a bonfire arranged around Hendon Airfield. For 15 first ever night takeoff by a heavier-than-air machine. Takeoff run 110 yards overloaded with 21 gallons. He flies at 500 feet, navigating by factory furnace glow and the faint gleam of railway tracks. 6 o'clock. Both men now fight the same southwesterly gale over Staffordshire. Paulhan at 1,050 feet. Wind gusting 38 to 42 miles per hour.
Vertical gusts exceed 800 ft mean downward.
He flies with full left rudder and opposite aileron just to hold heading. Oil temperature 112 to 8 degrees Celsius below red line.
740 número 7 cylinders sadenliloses compression.
He throttles to 950 revolutions per minute, drops to 400 feet for denser air, Richens mixture. Ground speed falls to 11 miles per hour. He calculates he will run dry 4 miles short of Manchester. 8:15 wind eases to 22 miles per hour. Ground speed rises to 24 miles per hour. 9:30, he spots the Manchester Ship Canal 11 miles to go. Fuel, 1.4 gallons, 11 minutes. He descends to 200 feet, shuts throttle to 850 revolutions per minute, and glides whenever possible. 40 miles behind, Graham White's overloaded Farman refuses to climb above 620 feet. Oil spray freezes on his goggles. The Gnome is running at 118 degrees Celsius. At 8:50 he accepts defeat and begins searching for a field. 9:52 wind drops to 12 miles per hour. Paulhan advances throttle to 1,100 revolutions per minute. 10:08 crosses the Manchester boundary at 800 feet. 10:12 perfect landing on Benage Field. Propeller stops at 10 hours 13 minutes and 40 seconds. Elapsed time since Wormwood Scrubs, 23 hours 52 minutes 20 seconds. Fuel remaining, 0.6 gallons, 4.5 minutes. Total engine revolutions, 26,840. Distance flown, 186.47 statute miles. He steps down, kisses the ground, and says in perfect English, "The honor belongs to the machine, not to me." Graham White lands nearby at 11:07 after flying 173 miles through darkness and storm. He walks straight to Paulhan, shakes his oil-soaked hand, and tells the press, "Your engine ran 2 hours longer than mine ever could. That extra tank won the race, not the pilot." That night at the Savoy Hotel banquet, Graham White raises his glass. To Louis Paulhan, who taught the world that the impossible only takes a little longer. Paulhan replies quietly, "No, my friend, you taught us courage. I only followed the railway." The race instantly transformed aviation. The gnome proved it could run 12+ hours with careful nursing. Night flying was possible with nothing more than moonlight and determination. Long-distance navigation by ground features alone was reliable. Within 1 year Britain had 28 licensed pilots instead of 6. The Army placed its first aircraft orders. The Admiralty began seaplane development. On April 27, 1950, exactly 40 years later, Louis Paulhan, now 67, flew the same route as a passenger in a Gloucester Meteor at 540 miles per hour. He patted the ejection seat and laughed. From 42 miles an hour to 540. And I still prefer the Farman. No medals were ever struck for what they did. But every modern airliner that crosses oceans without refueling, every pilot who trusts his engine at night, every passenger who looks down on the same railway line from 35,000 feet owes an unpayable debt to 2 freezing men in open cockpits who proved that the sky was not a limit. It was only the beginning. This was just one of countless untold stories from the dawn of flight, a story that belongs as much to the history of the Second World War as to the birth of the modern world. Subscribe to World War II Files as we continue to bring these forgotten chapters of history back to life.